Nice meeting you too.
All righty, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're gonna do is click select return. And once you select return, then you're gonna click and we're gonna click OK. All righty, my system's taking long to load. So usually the first thing that you have to do when you are in your system is putting the client data sheet. You're going to make sure that you complete the taxpayer's information, the filing status, the spouse information, if they have a spouse, the address, banking information, if they have banking information, if they have marketplace insurance, you're gonna check off this box as well. Some clients do not know that they have marketplace insurance, or they forget. I don't know why. It's the Obamacare. So usually if we send off the tax return to the IRS, because marketplace insurance is directly with the federal government, they know who has marketplace insurance or not. So if we submit a tax return off and the taxpayer has marketplace insurance, what's going to happen is, and they didn't tell us about it, what's going to happen is the IRS will reject the tax return. They're going to send it back. Hey, I reject this return. I need that marketplace insurance on this tax return. So that's when you have to ask your client, like, hey, do you have marketplace insurance? Some of them might say, oh, no, I don't. You got to tell them, yes, you do. You have to contact marketplace insurance so you can get your form, because I'm unable to complete your tax return and get it acknowledged by the IRS because you're missing that marketplace insurance. So please just make sure you're doing your due diligence, asking the clients if they have marketplace insurance as well. And then the last part is dependents information. So you'll enter the dependents information as well. Then from there, we're gonna go ahead and get this party started. We're gonna complete the 1099 form, 1099 NEC, 1099K form, and the Schedule C. So you all probably noticed that there's a 1099 NEC form, and you're probably wondering, like, why do I have this 1099 NEC form? Basically, the 1099 NEC form is the amount of tips the Uber driver made. So if they make over a certain amount, I believe it's $600 in tips, they do receive a 1099 NEC. Do y'all have any questions so far about that? No questions? Okay. The next thing is the 1099K form. That's the gross amount the taxpayer receives throughout the month. So it's broken down by months, and we're going to go over it in the system, but it's broken down by January, February, March, April, May, and we have to input that in the system as well. And there, in addition to that, you all took a picture of the expense sheet. The expense sheet includes the total of the tips, the total of the gross amount that the taxpayer received directly from Uber, and it also has like the expenses. It shows on this expense sheet, it shows how much the commission and fees were that Uber charged the tax client. It also shows the online miles. And I know you all are probably wondering, like, well, what's online miles? So if I was an Uber driver and I had to pick up Kelly Smith from Gretna, Louisiana, on my way picking her up, that doesn't count as online miles. Online miles count once I pick her up and she's in my vehicle, and then when I drop her off, Uber actually calculates those miles. So we can actually use that as an expense. And the great part about it is that Uber and Lyft always include your online miles on the expense sheet. And we're going to input our expenses on the Schedule C form. So I broke it down a little bit for y'all. I know it might sound a little bit confusing. So we're going to get in our system and I'm going to show y'all exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So first things first, we're going to go to add form, but I should know better. We can't add any form unless we add the filing status. So for this particular client, we're going to just put single 1. And if you look in the grade area, it'll show you what each number means. 1 is single, 2 is married, filing joint, 3 is married, filing single, 4 is head of household, and 5 is widow or widower. So we're going to just enter the number 1, and then we're going to add our form. Any questions so far? No question. I hope y'all following along for real, because this is very important.
Yeah, I'm following along.
Okay, all righty. Thank you. I really need y'all to follow
Me too.
along because thank you. It seems simple right now, and you might be like, oh yeah, I got this. But when tax season comes, you're gonna be confused. So that's why I really want to do it with y'all. So we're gonna go to add form and we're gonna type in 1099K. And let's go ahead and enter everything from the 1099K form. And I'm gonna be doing it right along with y'all. A 1099K form, we're doing a follow along. So we're completing a 1099K form, Schedule C, and a 1099 NEC. I think the person who joined is a part of the information. I'll just go over the 1099K form. So like I previously stated, the 1099K form, I don't know if I stated this before, is a payment card and third-party network transaction form. This form actually breaks down the total gross amount payment that the taxpayer received, and it also it shows the full amount and then it breaks down per month. Usually in the past, I have seen these 1099K forms for Uber, Lyft, Square payments, also PayPal payments as well. So if a Uber driver usually makes over, I believe, $6,000, they'll receive a 1099K form. But as you all have noticed, I provided y'all with 3 forms for this one Uber driver. The reason why they have 3 forms is because like I previously stated, the expense form has all of the expenses as well as the gross income. That's the form that all Uber drivers or Lyft drivers will always have. They're always going to have that expense page. If your Uber or Lyft driver brings you a 1099K form only, please ask them for that expense form that I showed you all. Ask, hey, where's the expense form? Oh, I didn't get an expense form. Please log into your account. The reason why it is important for us to have that expense form, because the expense form shows the commission and fees that Uber or Lyft charge. It also shows the online miles, and we want to be able to input that information on the Schedule C, because right now we have entered $33,535 for the gross income. But if we look at the expense sheet, our tax client actually received way less than that because of the commission and fees. So we don't want them to report income that they actually didn't receive. We want to be able to input those expenses. So far, do you all have any questions? Right here, click refresh. We want our system to refresh the information that we just inputted. So when we click refresh, as you can see on the left-hand side, it says Uber Technology. But also, as you can see, federal refund says zero due. Also, what normally happens is when we input any income, the AGI will automatically calculate right here. It did not calculate because if we put in this 1099 form, we have to link it to a Schedule C to report the income, or we have to link it to a Schedule E or F. If you notice on the right-hand side by box 1A, right here, it says link to. It has to be linked to another form for the system to read that income. And I'm gonna tell y'all a little story because I messed up one time, and this was like 2 years ago. I don't know what's wrong with me. Top left-hand side, and we're gonna click add form. Let's go ahead and add it. And then you're gonna just type in Schedule C, or you can just bring your mouse on down to Schedule C, whatever floats your boat. So we're gonna add it. And where it says unnamed activity, we do want to name that activity. We're gonna name that activity Uber. So for those who have joined, we have inputted the 1099-K form. And now we're adding the Schedule C form. So go ahead and add your Schedule C form. In box A, we're gonna name it Uber as the name of the principal business or profession. Let's name it Uber. Then you're gonna move on to box B. And yeah, let's move on to box B. And we're gonna look for the code. If you look in the grayed area at the bottom by choices, you click on choices and you can actually look for the code. Or you can go to the second box and you can kind of type in what type of business you think it may be, and a code will populate. There's 2 ways you can do it. So I think it's like transit. No, it's not. So let me try transportation. It's not transportation equipment manufacturer. So I'm gonna have to go to choices and actually look for the code. If y'all find a code, let me know, please.
I think it is one. It's one that has like courier or something that goes with
It's
it.
courier,
Not,
okay.
something goes with that. I think it's like courier / delivery, something like that.
Is it courier messenger?
No, hold on. I'm trying to think. Dang.
I think it is, hold up. They have transportation warehouse, general freight, let's see. Urban transit systems. Or you can do other transit and ground passenger transportation. That's the one I'm gonna do. So you do have to look for the code. Would Uber, in box B, it asks for the business name. If the client actually has a business that's connected to the Uber that they do, you enter the business name. But usually when someone works for Uber or Lyft, they don't have a business name. But if they do, please enter it in box C. And then if they do have a business name and they have an EIN, you'll enter the EIN in box D. But usually this is not the case. All righty, so now we're gonna go to box E. Right under city, there's a box. Like I previously stated, on a client data sheet, we enter all of our clients' information and pretty much everything transfers over. Right here, you'll place an X in the box if you want the address from the client data sheet to port over to the Schedule C. This is only if like they work from home, but you might have some taxpayers that actually have a business address. If that's the case, you're not gonna put an X in this box for their home address to port over. You'll actually enter an address. Any questions? No questions? Okay. So for the counting method, because it's Uber, we know they did not receive cash. So we're gonna put an X in box 2 because it was a accounting method. They received it like direct deposit payments. So we're gonna put an X in that box. All righty. You can answer the questions G through J. They're not necessary, but you can answer them if you would like. Usually what I do is go down to the box right past J, and I enter a Q in this box for a qualified business income indicator. So Q. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my Schedules K form. So let's go ahead and click on our Schedule K form. What we're about to do now, we're about to link the form. And when you link the form, what's gonna happen is the income that we inputted on the 1099-K form is gonna move over to part 1 of the Schedule C form. So let's go ahead and go to the Schedule K form. On the right-hand side, next to 1A, where it says link to Schedule C, ERF, we're gonna be in that box. Did everyone get to that box?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. So we're gonna go down to choices. And as you can see, we have Uber right there. So now we're gonna link it. So we'll just double click. And if you all notice right here in federal income, it says 0, well, federal due, that's for the refund. It has 0. But once we link it, the income will be calculated in the system. Remember about my story, I forgot to link it, so the income was not reported. So you gotta make sure you link this form. So let's go ahead and double click. And we're gonna click refresh. As you can see, the income is linked now. Part of it, it doesn't show the full amount because the system calculates like the standard deduction and everything. So it's always a little bit lower. So as you can see right now, the AGI is 31,000. Let's go back to the Schedule C form. Do you all see the $33,000 is now linked as the gross income from 1099-K form? Do y'all follow along? Do everyone understand?
Yeah.
A picture of, and we're gonna go ahead and look at the 1099 NEC form. And remember that 1099 NEC form was the tips that the client, well, yeah, our client received. So let's go ahead and go to add forms. And we're gonna enter 1099 NEC. And like I said, y'all can go down with your mouse or you can type it in, whatever floats your boat, long as you get to the right form. So let's go ahead and double click that. And we're gonna enter the information for the 1099 NEC form. Everybody have the same number, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We just entered this 1099 NEC form. We only entered it because we did not link it. We could click refresh right now. Let's click refresh. You see Uber Technology and Company, it pulled up, but that income did not add on. You know why? It's because we didn't link the form. Please, please, please remember to always link your forms. Your client tax return either gonna be rejected or it's gonna go through with the IRS, and then the IRS gonna acknowledge it. And then those 21 days while it's sitting with the IRS is gonna notice that it doesn't match what they have in their system from Uber, and it can be subject to audit, or it's gonna hold up the process of the refund. And this can ultimately change your client's refund big time, $6,000 of income that you didn't report. So link 1099 forms. I do not care. Link them, please link them, because this will get you in a lot of trouble. So now what we're gonna do is right in box 1, go right below the $6,651, and we're gonna link it. So as you all can see in the grade area by choices, you're gonna click on choices, and we're gonna link it to that Uber. That's why it was important for us to name the Schedule C, because we want to make sure we're linking it to the correct Schedule C form, which is Uber. So let's double click. And once we double click, we're going to click refresh, and we're going to notice a change in the balance that's due as well as the AGI. Now our client owes $7,996, and the AGI is now $37,347. So we have reported all of the income. Let's go to the Schedule C now. As we can see, the total income on part 1, where it says income, is $40,186. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull up that expense form. Let's go ahead and pull up that expense form. I'm trying to pull it up too, y'all. And if y'all notice on the expense form right by your gross payment, you see the total amount that the client actually, not the client actually received, but the total reportable payment amount is $40,186. That's how you know that everything's correct on your 1099-K form as well as your 1099 NEC form. So from there, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our expenses. Do y'all follow me on the expenses, 1099-K and 1099 NEC form? I need y'all to say something. Speak now.
Yes, I'm following.
I'm about to start calling y'all names. I need to know that y'all here. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, if you all notice in the middle where it says expenses, expense, fees, and taxes, we need to add that, because technically our client didn't receive $40,000. If you look on the right-hand side, it says our client actually received $22,681.26. So that's what we need to get down to, because my client not about to be taxed on no $40,000. So we're gonna go to box number 10, and we're gonna enter those commission and fees, the $17,505.10. Let's go ahead and enter that, y'all. Y'all follow me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. We got somebody talking. So we enter that and we're gonna click refresh. But before y'all click refresh, look at y'all balance. Y'all see how much our client owe right now? Let's click refresh since we added that expense in. Let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and click refresh. Look how much that balance went down just because we added those commission and fees that Uber actually received. Okay, welcome everyone who just came into the group. I guess y'all will call this group. We are actually working on 1099-K forms, 1099 NEC, and Schedule C forms. We're almost done. So if you all do need a copy of this particular recording, we can send it to you. Just send input your name in the chat and we'll send it to you after. And I think there was an error because some of you all were receiving a message for 7:30 p.m. to join, and some were receiving a message for 6:30 p.m. So my apologies to those who received it for a different time. It's something with the CRM system, I don't know. Thank you, Miss CC Carter. So if you don't mind, just dropping your email in the chat. And
I have
like
a
said,
question.
yes.
I just got in. Am I late? Cause I thought it was supposed to be right now.
Yeah,
it
so
good?
that's what I was just saying. I apologize. Some people received a link for 6:30 and some received the link for 7:30. So how about the ones who received that link for 7:30? If you all do not mind, if y'all don't mind exiting, and I can just do another training right after. The training is gonna be a good 30 minutes. So I can shoot you a text message. I believe you're actually under Chantel, so I can send Chantel a text message to ask you to join right after. You and Jasmine, I believe, just joined. So I'll do another one-on-one session right after, y'all. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. So let's go ahead and finish this off. And if y'all have questions after, we will answer questions. So everything has to make sense with expenses. So for this particular taxpayer, they are Uber driver. So with an Uber driver, we have to make sure those expenses make sense. And when I say make sure the expenses make sense, if this person is an Uber driver, would we have office expenses? Would y'all put some office expenses down for an Uber driver?
No.
Thank you. So machinery and equipment, you may put some expenses down for machinery and equipment if they repaired their, well, that's under repairs. I'm sorry, box 21. For repairs and maintenance, you would put down some expenses for repairs and maintenance if they had any oil changes, if they had to actually repair their vehicle, just any repairs and maintenance that they may have incurred while Ubering. Of course, you do want your receipts, but as a tax preparer, you also want to do your due diligence. You want to ask these questions to your clients because, you know, like if a client comes into me in my office and they are Uber driver or they are a Lyft driver, I'm not going to just take the information that they give me. I'm going to ask them questions like, hey, did you do any repairs or maintenance on your vehicle? Did you have any? You got to ask those questions, and you also need to ask for those receipts as well, so you can have that in your file. So it got to make sense too. If this client actually, you know, they made $40,186 before the fees, it's not gonna make sense for me to put $80,000 worth of repairs. Or you might have an Uber client that comes in and they only made $5,000, but they're telling you like, hey, my travel expenses for my gas or whatnot was $10,000. That don't even make sense. How you had $10,000 worth of travel expenses and you didn't even make $10,000? So it has to make sense. So in box 21, we're just gonna make up a number for the sake of the training. But when we actually have a client in front of us, we want those receipts and we want to ask them those questions and do our due diligence. So for this particular client, for repairs and maintenance, I'm gonna say maybe about $3,500. And that can be new tires on their vehicle, anything, any expenses they incurred for repairs and maintenance while they were Ubering. So let's put 3,561. I'm not gonna put exactly 3,500, and I'm not sure if you all know this, but on Schedule Cs, you are never to have a zero at the end of any number. That is a red flag and a trigger for audit because the IRS doesn't believe there will be even numbers for any expenses. That's when they start to think that the tax returns are fraudulent. Any questions so far? No questions? Okay, cool. Now what we're gonna do is click refresh because we want to see those numbers go down since we entered that expense. So let's go ahead and click refresh. Oh, it didn't go down. Oh yeah, it did go down. Okay, so also with travel, I have seen Uber drivers that came into my office and they were super prepared. They had all of their receipts. I actually had tax client that came into my office. Like I said, they were Uber or Lyft, one of those transportation companies, and they clocked or logged in every, like every gas receipt. And they actually had like a log of all of their gas receipts, and I was able to just plug it in based upon that. If your client isn't as organized, ask for bank statements and tell them to highlight when they actually, pump their gas, or tell them to start saving their receipts. But you want to have some receipts for gas as well. So, like I said before, this might be $40,000. So we're gonna make sure it makes sense as well. So we're gonna say maybe to use like $200 in gas per month. That's about, we're just gonna put like $2,500, but please make sure you don't put zeros. So we're gonna put 2544. And we're gonna click refresh. And we're gonna watch that balance go down. Do y'all follow me?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. I was about to call somebody out if y'all didn't want to answer me. So now we're going to go down to part 4. And make sure you have your expense sheet pulled up too, because this is the nitty-gritty part. It's my favorite part though. So we're going to make sure we put an X in this box. And the reason why we're putting an X in this box is because once we input the amount of miles our clients actually travel, the expenses will be calculated, and the expenses for the miles will be placed in this box right here. The system does something super cool. This is something that y'all don't have to know, but I'm just gonna let y'all know because it's tax law. So before, I don't know if I know the new calculations, but this current tax season, the IRS actually paid paid all of us, all taxpayers, not paid all of us, but we received 58 cents per mile for our expenses. So what the system is about to do, once we enter the mileage that our clients actually travel, it's gonna calculate 58 cents times the miles that we input, and it's gonna give the expense amount. I hope that makes sense. If it didn't, let me know so I can explain it a little bit better. Y'all follow me? Miss Sasha
Got
Bell,
it.
Ella? Okay. So right
Yeah,
here,
I got it.
okay, perfect. On line 43, it's asking, when was the vehicle placed in business for service? This is a question we'll ask our client. For the sake of the training, we just gonna put 01/01/2019. And that's just something that the IRS wants to know. And then we're gonna enter the total business miles. So if you all notice on the expense sheet, it shows, hold up, let me see if y'all got this. I feel like how those, is that like a YouTuber, how they put the camera right there? So it shows 10,646 miles. So let's enter that, 10,646. That's the total business miles, but we have to make sure we put commuting miles as well, because the Uber and Lyft, they only are calculating the miles when you're like on the clock and pick it, like when you pick up your, when Uber picks up the client in the car and drop them off. That's the only miles they calculate. They don't calculate how many miles it took for you to get there to your client. It don't calculate how many miles it took for you to get back to your house or wherever you had to go after you dropped off the client. So you have to make sure you input those commuting miles. So you do have the mileage, the online travel miles, but make sure you ask your client for the miles that they actually travel and commuting. If they don't know, please provide them with some type of mileage worksheet. You can grab one from offline and have them input the estimated commuting miles and have them sign it. You want to make sure you are protected as a tax professional and you have all of your files together. So for the sake of training, we're just gonna put their commuting miles was 2571. And then from there, we're gonna just answer lines 45, 46, 47. Are y'all still on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I got a notification that I was signed out. If it signs me out, please log right back in. But I just received the notification. Okay, so let's answer these questions. And these are questions that you'll pretty much ask your client with the exception of 47A and B. 47A is, do you have evidence to support your deductions? And that's yes, because we actually have that expense sheet from Uber. And 47B, it asks if the evidence are written. Yes, because we have that expense sheet from Uber. Plus, we're going to ask our clients for a mileage worksheet and we'll have them sign it. The other questions are questions depending on the client. So these could be yes or no questions. I'm just going to put yes for them. And after all of that's inputted, we're going to click refresh and we're going to watch that balance go down even more. So let's click refresh. And the balance has gone down to $1,528. I'm going to move up from part 4 to part 2 and show you how the expenses for the mileage was calculated right here. Do you all have any questions or concerns about 1099K, 1099 NEC, and Uber? And how to link them?
I don't have no questions, but I do want to, if this like being recorded, could you like send it or email it?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay, because I want
put
to go over
Put your
it
email
again.
address in the chat.
Okay,
Thank you.
I did it already.
All righty.
Okay.
Any questions about Uber? Our Schedule C's, 1099K and 1099 NEC?
Do you know if DoorDash has expense sheets?
I believe DoorDash has a 1099K form as well. I'm not sure if I saw an expense sheet for DoorDash because DoorDash is a little bit more up and coming versus
Okay.
Uber and Lyft. So I'm not sure,
Okay.
but that's something to look for this year.
Yeah.
I hope they do because you should be clocking online miles as well with DoorDash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If not, if you know anyone who does DoorDash, please,
My mama.
okay, please let them know to start, calculating their miles just in case, writing down their mileage. They should do the expense sheet to think about it because we need to know the commission and fees that DoorDash charges. I just hadn't seen it yet.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. No questions? Y'all got it? Y'all feeling confident, comfortable?
Yes, ma'am.
I am.
All righty. And basically this is how you input Schedule C in a 1099K form and link it. And if y'all don't have any additional questions, if you all do not mind logging off, I'm going to stay on and I'm going to do another session right after. I'm going to do the same session with those who just joined.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful night.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Happy holidays.